Alrighty, here we go. Capture number 2, and I'm going to talk about the weather chart for Jackson Hole Mountain Resort area. Okay, so where does it start? Here's where it starts. This is the 5 a.m. big sheet. Everybody's fairly comfortable seeing this. A lot of numbers, a lot of different areas. A lot of it's pertinent, but a lot of it isn't as far as what we need if we're just working on the eastern side of the Tetons. So what this sheet does is it takes those numbers and it extracts just the parts that we need. And here's what this sheet covers that, at least for me, I think we've been in need of or do need to know about. I'm going to slide these columns over. What you'll see here is an explanation of this chart. Basically it's talking about temperatures, and we look at the 5 a.m., the high for the day, and the low for the day. Each one of these bars, so here's 223, this represents a day. And there's a space, 222, yesterday. Now, I'm looking at 10,400 these days and the base area temperatures. And the gray bars represent the range throughout the course of the day, and whatever cell has color in it is the 5 a.m. temperature. So here's top of the world, -2 at 5 a.m. Previous day, 5 a.m. was also -2. And the day before that, at 5 a.m. it was 10. The differences in colors just kind of reflect as you're warmer, anything over 32 degrees should be red. Kind of moderate temperatures are yellow, a little bit cooler, turns blue. And it's just some way of getting an idea of what a visual clue of what the color is. Scrolling down, other data that are taken in is snowpack data, and here you can see the height of new, the SWE. These are actual numbers taken from the 5 a.m. sheet. Keep in mind the 5 a.m. sheet is hastily compiled, and generally your SWE numbers in particular are off as much as 30%, if not more, on big snow days or extreme weather. It also tracks the height of snow. So this little orange bar here is the height of snow. The blue is my snow water equivalent, and the lightish yellow color is the height of new in inches. And this just gives you an idea. So when they're even, you're at roughly 10% snow, and sometimes you get a lot more height of snow and not as much SWE. That means you're drier or wetter. And it's just kind of an arbitrary thing. After you look at it for a while, you start to get used to seeing it. Down below here are the numbers that I find to be quite useful. And this is the settlement calculations. This little bar here says, okay, I got 4 inches of snow and I had 3 inches of settlement overnight. Previous day I got 2 inches of snow, 1 inch of settlement, and then at the end of that storm, little storm, we had 1 inch of new and no inches of settlement. So it's just a way of tracking what's happening, whether you're building a slab or whether you're just leaving loose snow on the ground. A couple other miscellaneous things. Here's the wind miles in this column, and then the direction, the average direction throughout the 24-hour period. And then finally down here, this big column that keeps popping around is the defining event avalanche. So I just take the biggest natural or skier trigger slide and I record it based on its destructive class. So I'll scroll back until I find some. So here we are on the 8th, date unknown, not reported. This was that big slide out on 10,300 to the west of the ski area, maybe 4 or 5 miles, and so a D3 slide. If we zoom out from all of this and you take a big look, big picture view, you can start to correlate. Here's my avalanche activity. You can see the blue bars from the SWE. So there's a lot of snow, a little bit of time, something got triggered. Oh hey, there's 734 miles of wind, 600 miles here, 663 here. Oh wow, huge wind event, and that's what finally took this snow and produced this slide. It's all historical. It doesn't really help you so much maybe in forecasting, but there are some things that it can maybe give you an impression of. These little squares you're seeing down here are just They're old windroses that I used to compile, but it's hard to get that data anymore, and it takes too much time, and no one ever really looked at them anyway. So how does this sheet work? Well, all of these cells that have color are all formatted cells. There's no data entry here. If you look at this tab here, here's my enter data tab, and I'll have to zoom in on it. This is where all of the guts of information for this thing are put in, and I'll scroll up on it. So this should be changed to base now. So what I do is you go to the big sheet, 17, 22, 17. So 5 a.m. high low for 10,400, 20, 25, 20. At this point in time I was using the Raymer plot, even though it's not at 9,800, and you get those. Wind speed, I record it, but it doesn't get put on the chart. Direction, I do record. Miles, I do record. Precip and the SWE get recorded, and the snow depth, and from that all the other information is garnered. When you scroll down, there used to be other things that I used to put in here. I could put in the hazard, morning and afternoon, above, below, tree line, etc. And then I used to put in what our stability rating was. I don't put that in anymore because, once again, no one reads it, so it's not really worth recording on this sheet. It's better to have on your daily page when you're looking at your guide notebook. What I do put in, though, is the defining slide name. So few days back would have been February 6th. Pandora's slid, they either natural or skier trigger remote, 9200 southeast. They gave it a 1.5 or a 1 plus on here. We don't know what layer it was. Most of the time UNC is what you see, because we don't believe in ground profiling here in the southern Tetons, or at least not that often anymore. Anyhow, that was a little bit, I probably shouldn't have said that. I did though. And then when you scroll back over here, you can see that data produced for you in a more visual format. And this allows you to see trends. It allows you to see storm tracks, when each of the storm cycles occurred, what they were doing, and you can loosely correlate some avalanche data with them. So it's kind of a nice big picture thing. It's a way of introducing yourself to the day. Now, the next thing I'm just going to show you really quickly here is how this data gets put in. So if anybody does download this thing and they want to see the fast way of putting the data in, you could certainly type that all in yourself. And I'll blow up this thing here. Here's February 23rd. And we'll scroll over to it. So here's the 23rd of February. Let's say that all of these numbers weren't here. Delete. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so I don't have any of those numbers there. Okay, all of that data on the visual data thing went away too. Well, because I'm always pulling off of the big sheet, what I do is I go in and I find the big sheet. Here's my date, the 23rd. I highlight all of that, and I copy it. So use the edit menu, copy, or Control C on a PC copies that data. Get that out of the way. I come in here and I do what's called a special paste. Edit, paste special, unformatted text, OK. And this parses everything into spreadsheet format, puts it all back in. So now everything that was on the 5 a.m. big sheet is now on my spreadsheet, and these cells are referencing the various cells where the numbers I want are located. Now I highlight those, Control C or edit, copy, and then I go over here to my enter data. I find February 23rd and the cell right below it. I do an edit, paste special, text, numbers, date, and time. I don't want any of this other stuff in there. Tell it OK, and that puts my numbers in. So right there, in 15 seconds or so, with me talking, I put in all of the data that I need for that given day, minus if there's an avalanche event, then I have to type that in. And that puts everything out here ready to go. And you can see the 23rd is back on. So this is it. It's free for anybody to use. This little tag right here is a Creative Commons license. It's like a copyright, only it basically says that anybody who wants to use this can for whatever purposes they want. If they make it better, they need to share it, and yeah, leave my name in the credits, since I put an absurd amount of time for the lack of utility that I get out of this thing. And thanks a lot for listening if you managed to make it this far, and I hope you have a good day.